Hello, and welcome to another edition of Smoke Signals. I'm your host for today's show, Lieutenant Chris Taylor from the LaGrange Fire Department. We have a great show lineup today concerning workplace safety. So sit back and relax, because you're about to watch Smoke Signals. Hello and welcome back. Today we have with us a very special guest here on the show, Mr. Russ Ehringheim with the Procter & Gamble Duracell LaGrange. How you doing, Russ, and welcome to the show.
I'm good, Chris. I appreciate you inviting me to come and be with you today.
It's a pleasure, and I know that you're a busy person, and we appreciate you coming out to be on the show with us today to talk about a very, very important topic out of your busy schedule. But before we get into that, if you would tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with Duracell, and what your roles and responsibilities are.
Okay, so I've been with Duracell LaGrange for a little bit over 25 years. Okay. I'm part of the health, safety, environmental group at the plant. I'm responsible for technical safety, process safety, and for our emergency response team. Okay. And I also have some responsibilities with fire protection and emergency management.
Okay, so you have a pretty lengthy background when it comes to your roles at Duracell, and very important roles, might I add.
Yes, sir. I think everybody can tell I enjoy what I do.
Exactly. And you know what, that's one of the most important things, enjoying what you do, because that makes you more proactive when you do that.
I agree.
Now, today we're talking about Procter & Gamble Duracell LaGrange. If you could, just give us an overview of the services and the products that are offered from Duracell LaGrange.
Okay, so I think probably most everybody's familiar with Procter & Gamble, but the plant I work at is Duracell plant, and we produce 9-volt and AAA batteries. Okay. And our batteries go all over North America. Wow. And to other areas of the world as well. Okay, cool. And it's great to have a facility like that here in LaGrange, and we appreciate the services that you all provide, not only in the industrial area, but also in the community. Okay, thank you. Now, let's get into our topic that we're discussing today. We're talking about workplace safety, which is a very, very important topic. So could you tell us what, well, first of all, why is workplace safety important to you in your opinion? I think that work is something that all of us have to do to support our families. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't have to go to a job where we have to worry about are we going to be safe? Are we going to be able to go home to our families the same way that we came to work? Right. That's why it's important to me.
Okay, good. Now, as far as safety in the workplace, what safety measures are in place at Duracell LaGrange to ensure the overall safety of all personnel?
Well, first, at Duracell LaGrange, we strive to promote 4 core safety values to all of our employees. Okay. First, nothing we do is worth getting hurt. Mm-hmm. Second, safety can and will be managed. Okay. Third, every incident could and should have been prevented. Mm-hmm. And fourth, safety is everyone's responsibility. Okay. And we don't just say that, that's the way we operate our business. Okay. And we do this by, we call them key elements. We work under 6 key elements. The first is leadership and commitment. Okay. This says that we have the support of our plant leadership team and the technical support of our HS&E group for whatever we need to carry forward as far as safety for the plant. Mm-hmm. Key element 2 and 3 have to do with our equipment. Okay. So we design and construct our equipment first so that they can be operated safely. So that's the design and construct part. Then we operate and maintain our equipment in a safe fashion so that we keep everybody safe. Okay. Key element 4 has to do with training and procedures. Mm-hmm. So we make sure that everyone is trained to do the jobs on the piece of equipment that they're on. Okay. And that training is also refreshed and documented, and they review it annually so it stays fresh in their minds. Mm-hmm. Key element 5 has to do with behavior and culture. And what we mean when we say this is that we all observe one another in our routine daily tasks and give feedback to one another on the things that we see that we're doing right, or the opportunities that we see where we could make improvements for safety.
Right.
Key element 6 has to do with prevention and improvement. This has subsystems such as emergency management and incident investigation, and this is how we make sure that we keep our employees not only safe, but that we meet all of the legal requirements as far as providing safety for them.
Okay, and you know, those key elements are very, very profound elements, and I think you all do a great job of outlining those key elements to make sure that everyone in the workplace understands the importance of workplace safety, what to do, and how to go by doing it, and to meet the goals and objectives, and that's to make sure that everybody goes home at the end of the day.
That's right, and that's our goal, Chris.
Okay, now how do you protect employees who work alone or in isolated areas?
So we do have some jobs that require people to work in isolated areas, and these employees, we consider them to be isolated or lone worker employees. These employees are required to wear a radio, and this radio has a man down switch in it that if that employee should go down for some reason, it'll trigger audible tones, and it'll transmit their ID to any radios that are set up to receive that.
Okay.
Not only that, but it'll also open their mic to transmit so that any employee listening on other radios will be able to hear whatever they're saying plus whatever noises are in that area.
Okay. All right. Now, when you talk about areas in your facility, do you have areas in your facility where work must be performed, which would be classified as confined space? And if so, how do you ensure employee safety during those being in those environments?
Yeah, we do have some of those areas, Chris, and the first thing about it is that the way that we view confined spaces. So at the Duracell LaGrange plant, we view all confined spaces as permit required, and we post signs to that effect.
Right.
Now, first off, a confined space, to be a confined space, means that it's large enough for a person to enter, has limited or restricted means of exit and entry, and also it's not intended for continuous occupancy. These can be categorized as either permit or non-permit. We just view it all as a permit, and then we have a stringent permit system in place that requires that the rescue equipment is taken to the site of the entry, and that 2, the person initiating the entry has to have the signature of our emergency coordinator, which is on the emergency response team, so that they know exactly where the entry is taking place in case something happens.
Right.
And by having the equipment on site, that allows us to be able to get on scene and to be able to have breathing air to the down person in the confined space within 3 minutes.
Okay, good deal. And of course, when you talk about confined space situations, you know, that is something that can't be taken lightly, because when people are in confined space areas, they need to have all the proper equipment necessary, and they also must have the log out, tag out system.
That's exactly right.
That's very important, so that if an incident does happen, protective measures can be taken so that we can get those people out of those situations as quick as possible.
And another thing I wanted to point out too, this is somewhere that LaGrange Fire Department has been instrumental to us to being able to train our people for confined space rescue, so that all of our people know how to react and the right way to go about doing something if we should ever happen to have to rescue somebody from one of our confined spaces. So the fire department has actually come on site and trained with us, and we're in good shape when it comes to that.
Okay. Now, speaking of training, just technically speaking, during the year or however you all do your training, by how many hours do you expect for your emergency response team members to have in various settings?
So we repeat. I handle all of the first aid and BLS training, basic life support training. So, and actually that training is good for 2 years. We repeat hours yearly.
Okay.
And that's an 8-hour course. Then besides that, the confined space rescue, we repeat that yearly.
Okay.
Plus brief refreshers through the year. We actually do tabletop scenarios and simulated drills through the year.
Okay.
Then on the other trainings, we refresh annually.
Okay,
So.
good. And with your drills, and this is something that that we experience too in our training, is the announced and unannounced drills.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and with us being a workplace, you know, we do some unannounced things, but most of our drills are announced, and it's more to make sure that the people know how to handle the incident when it comes about.
Okay, good deal. Well, you know, we've covered several great topics so far concerning workplace safety at Duracell LaGrange, and it seems like y'all have a great outline of things that you pride your agency for in making sure that workplace safety is a #1 priority, and that the necessary procedures and measures are taken to ensure that that workplace safety is not only followed by management, but also followed by each and every employee that is there at your location.
Yes, sir. That's the take on safety that we work to drive home.
Okay, good deal. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more on workplace safety with Russ Ehrenheim from Duracell LaGrange. So stay tuned. Welcome back. We've been talking about some great topics concerning workplace safety, and we have here with us still Mr. Russ Ehrenheim, who has given us a great amount of information concerning workplace safety as well as workplace safety at Duracell LaGrange. So Russ, since we've been talking about workplace safety, let's talk about some other factors that we want to discuss concerning safety in general. First of all, how do you handle incidents where someone could have been or was almost injured on the job?
Okay, so we call those near misses.
Okay.
And if I go back to our 4 core safety values, one of those says every incident could have and should have been prevented. So we have a very stringent incident reporting system, and it requires that every near miss be investigated just as if it was an incident where somebody did get hurt.
Right.
And the first step of that is that there's an email sent out to the entire plant saying, okay, this is what happened. Then a report's done, and that report is investigated all the way to root cause, and corrective actions are put in place so that we prevent that from happening again. Okay. And then that's communicated back to the affected employees.
Okay, and that's a good method to have, because you know, even with us in the fire service, we also have what we call near misses, and near misses are those type of incidents that you definitely want to keep up with and document, because you know, we don't want to have the same near misses that continues to keep happening. Right. Because if it does, then there's got to be a root problem to why we keep having the same near misses happening, not only maybe to the same person, but a number of people. That's so exactly there may be some changes in operations or anything of that nature that might have to be done. And
that's the way we handle it, so that everybody in the plant learns from the little mistakes or errors that we see that could have been a real problem.
Exactly. Okay, now how do you manage the risk of a cumulative exposure to your employees?
So in the areas of the plant where there is a potential for exposure to different types of chemicals, we monitor that. We do testing and take samples, and then that's analyzed, and the information from that is given back to the employees for those areas.
Okay.
And then it's also documented and tracked so that we make sure we keep those levels below the requirements. And when I say the requirements, we make sure that our requirements for Duracell LaGrange are well below what is actually the acceptable limits.
Okay. Now, and one other thing that is important when you're talking about chemical exposures, having the information necessary to find out what these chemicals are, how they react with water or air or things of that nature, yes, by the use of an MSDS, which is a material safety data sheet. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so every chemical that we use in our plant has an MSDS sheet that is filed and is available hard copy or on the internet to our employees. and they are reviewed for specific areas. Everyone reviews during their right to know communications yearly, so that that's fresh in their minds and they know the appropriate PPE as well as handling methods for the chemicals.
Okay, and as far as the fire department is concerned, the plant also makes sure that the fire department has on hand the kind of chemicals that you all have in your facility, so that we can kind of understand and know what we're dealing with en route to that location if there is some kind of chemical exposure.
So we don't, it's available to the fire department if needed, but we do provide, we don't hand over like an entire book of all the chemicals in the plant. But what we do is the dangerous chemicals or that could present a hazard, we make sure that the MSDS is for those, and a brief description of their areas is gone over with the fire department. And then we do walkthroughs yearly so that the fire department personnel for all the battalions know where the hazardous areas of the plant are and what the watch-outs are for the different areas.
Definitely, good deal. How do you protect everyone against potential fire at Duracell? Lo and behold, nobody wants to have a fire, but you know, if that situation does occur, what measures do you have in play to protect everyone?
Okay, so first off, we do have smoke and heat detectors throughout the plant.
Okay.
So if there was an actual fire incident, these would detect it. They would activate and sound the alarm so that everybody would know to evacuate the building. At the same time, they would trigger to our alarm service provider, and 911 would be notified to send the fire department. Then along the lines for protection, we also train all of our employees to use fire extinguishers. Every employee in the plant, and that's one place that another place that LaGrange Fire Department's been very important to us to help us get all of our employees trained so that they know the right way to use a fire extinguisher to be safe. We also have a sprinkler system throughout our whole building, so that if there was an actual fire, the sprinkler system would activate in the area where the fire was and would keep it under control until you guys could get on scene and help us out with it.
Okay, and since you talked about the training that we provide with you all as far as fire extinguishers, one of the key things that I enjoy about being able to provide this training is simply because we know fires generally don't happen in the workplace, they happen at home. So it gives us an opportunity to be able to take this information and share it with those employees so that they can go back and share that information with their families and friends that they interact with every day, because our #1 goal is to protect those family members in their homes, but we use the industrial setting to get the information out to them.
That's right, and we feel the same way. We reinforce to everyone in our plant that we want them to consider the safety guidelines at the plant when they're at home or doing other things or sports or vacation, wherever they are. They keep these same things in mind, so it makes them safer, them and their families safer wherever they are.
Right, and another key point to that is I'm quite sure you have a number of employees that do not live in the LaGrange, Troup County area. They come from, you know, other counties and things of that nature. So being able to have them to share that information, because they may not get that information in their county, but being able to come to work and hear about all these safety measures and things that you need to do to protect yourselves from fire and other hazards, which we'll talk about some of those other hazards. I think that is a proactive way of being able to make sure that people understand the importance of safety, not on the job, but also in their homes.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, now let's talk about, since we're talking about other hazards, with the LaGrange area having a tendency to severe weather, which that is something that we have no control over, and we've seen severe weather of all different types of magnitudes here in our area, especially such as tornadoes. Do you have a plan for safety in these situations?
Yeah, we sure do, Chris. And at Procter & Gamble Duracell LaGrange, we keep 2 weather radios that are on all the time, and they're monitored. One of them is monitored 24/7, 365 by our security guard.
Okay.
And the other is monitored by up in our reception lobby area. And if something happens, it's broadcast over that, and we initiate, if it's a tornado warning, so you only have a few minutes with a tornado warning.
Right.
We would immediately trigger an alarm, and our employees all over the plant would proceed to the nearest one of our 2 severe weather assembly areas, and then they would remain there until our emergency coordinator, through radio traffic or contact with the 911 center, deems that it's safe to return to work, and he gives the all clear, and then they would return to work.
Okay, good, because you know, from season to season, you just never know. Tornadoes can happen at any given time of the year, and that is great that you all have a plan in place, because that is very important. Because like you said, when there's a threat of a severe thunderstorm with a possible tornado, you know, time is your enemy.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you take action and make sure that everybody take the protective measures in those situations.
Yes, sir.
Now, if there were an event, whether it was caused by severe weather, fire, or some other reasoning that could cause major damage to your facility, how would the LaGrange Duracell plant handle this?
Okay, so we do have business continuity planning, which takes a look at possible scenarios for things like that happening, where the building could be damaged and it could interrupt our operations. And recently we looked at one of these scenarios which did consider the likelihood of a tornado and how it would affect our building, and we went through all the various things that could happen, and we looked at and put in place plans to counteract each one of those, or to be able to handle those, so that we can do the best job possible of you know, one, protecting our people once again. Another thing is to be able to get our business back up and running as quickly as possible. Now, I know you can't ever predict exactly how something like this would go.
Right.
So what we do is we look at the most likely scenarios, and we put things in place to handle those as best we can.
Okay. And you know, when you talk about looking at the potential scenarios, and like we said earlier, what's important in the planning process is to know what type of incidents that can happen here in our area. Fires is going to be number one. We know fires can happen. Tornadoes can happen in our area. During the winter season, we can have, you know, ice storms. We can have snowstorms. There are so many things that can happen, where weather is related or fire is related, where you have to have some kind of plan in place. Even if it doesn't happen, a plan is better than no plan when it does happen. And that's one of the important things that, you know, each workplace setting should think about. And they should also think about it in a home, because emergency preparedness is one of the most important things that we can do to protect ourselves from all hazard situations. But still, there are a lot of people who don't take it seriously enough, and then when something happens, then they find themselves, you know, with the back against the wall.
And with most things, especially emergency situations, if you wait until something happens to try to pull together a plan for it, it's most likely too late.
Exactly. Well, we've had a wealth of information that you provided with us today. We thank you for taking time out again to come out and talk to us about a very important topic concerning workplace safety. That is something that, you know, everyone that works in a workplace setting should know. They also need to know what their procedures are there at their location and how to protect themselves in the event of some type of incident, and then take the you know, proactive measures to make sure that planning is in place, so that when these incidents do occur, our number one goal is to save lives.
Yes, sir.
And we want to make sure that that is taken care of.
Yes, sir. Sure is.
All right.
And I think if I could close with a couple of thoughts, I'd have to go back to our 4 core safety values.
Okay.
And pull from 2 of those. One of those is nothing we do at Duracell LaGrange is worth getting hurt. And 2 is that safety is everybody's responsibility.
All right, good deal. Well, thank you for those core values, and we'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking time out again to view another segment of Smoke Signals. Until next time, take care.